Well, I did get in a car in this weather. I think we all did.
Okay, all right, that's pretty close.
That's close. Every day's pretty exciting.
Every day's pretty exciting.
Every day's, because every day's a little crazy sometimes.
Yeah.
Especially a mission movie.
Tom Cruise is known for his stunts. Russell Crowe is known for his intense roles. But when these two icons came together, things didn't go smoothly. From arguments on set to years of personal tension, their story is one Hollywood tried to keep quiet. Now, Russell Crowe is breaking his silence, revealing what it's really like to work with one of the world's most famous actors. Tom Cruise became a worldwide star in 1986 with Top Gun, where he played the daring pilot Pete Maverick Mitchell. The movie was a huge hit, making $357 million on a budget of just $15 million. Fans loved his cool, confident character, and the movie's impact was so big that sales of Ray-Ban aviator sunglasses jumped by 40% after its release. In 1996, Cruise took on Mission Impossible, a franchise that would define his career. Over nearly 3 decades, he has starred in and produced 7 films in the series, which has earned more than $3.5 billion globally. Cruise made sure the movies were full of thrilling, real-life stunts instead of relying on computer effects. This hands-on approach kept the series fresh and exciting, and no other actor has managed to lead an action franchise for so long. Cruise's commitment to stunts is legendary. In Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning, Part 1, he rode a motorcycle off a cliff and base jumped into a ravine. It took 6 months of training and over 500 practice jumps to prepare for this single moment. In Rogue Nation, he held his breath underwater for 6 minutes, far longer than most people could even dream of. And in Fallout, he performed a halo jump, a dangerous military skydive from 25,000 feet. These stunts have become a trademark of his career, showing his dedication to delivering jaw-dropping action. But Cruise isn't just an action star. He has shown his acting talent in dramatic roles, too. In Jerry Maguire, he played a sports agent trying to balance success and love. The movie earned him a Golden Globe and an Oscar nomination, while making $273 million at the box office. Earlier, in A Few Good Men, he went toe-to-toe with Jack Nicholson in a courtroom drama, proving he could command attention with intense dialogue and emotion. Cruise's success goes beyond critical acclaim. He has dominated the box office like few others. Over 30 of his movies have earned more than $100 million each, and his films have made over $12 billion worldwide. Even decades into his career, he's still breaking records. On the other hand, Russell Crowe's big break came from 2 very different Australian films that showed how talented he was. In 1992, he played Hando, a dangerous neo-Nazi in Romper Stomper. His performance was so powerful that people compared him to Malcolm McDowell from A Clockwork Orange. The role won him an award for Best Actor in Australia and made everyone notice him. 2 years later, he surprised everyone by playing a kind, gay plumber named Jeff Mitchell in The Sum of Us. This role showed a completely different side of him, soft, emotional, and caring. The movie did well in Australia and won awards for its story. Hollywood couldn't help but take notice. Once in Hollywood, Crowe became unstoppable. From 1999 to 2001, he was nominated for 3 Oscars in a row for The Insider, Gladiator, and A Beautiful Mind. He won for Gladiator, where he played Maximus, a warrior who fights for justice. The movie was a huge hit, earning over $465 million and winning 5 Oscars, including Best Picture. After that, he played John Nash, a brilliant but troubled mathematician in A Beautiful Mind. That role earned him even more awards, like a Golden Globe and a BAFTA. Crowe even made history by starring in 2 Best Picture winners back-to-back with Gladiator and A Beautiful Mind. In The Insider, he took things even further by gaining 35 pounds and completely changing how he looked, showing how far he was willing to go for a role. But Crowe isn't just about acting. In 2014, he directed his first movie, The Water Diviner. It was a historical drama that people loved and earned awards in Australia. Crowe is also a musician. Over the years, he's been in bands like 30 Odd Foot of Grunts and Indoor Garden Party. In 2024, his band The Gentleman Barbers played an amazing show in Leeds, covering songs by Nick Cave and Leonard Cohen. Crowe's love for music started when he was young. He even sang on the streets to make money and released a single called I Just Wanna Be Like Marlon Brando. Music has always been a big part of who he is. In the summer of 1992, Russell Crowe and Tom Cruise met for the first time at a casual barbecue in Sydney. The event was hosted by Naomi Watts, and it brought together a small group of actors and industry folks. At the time, Crowe was a rising star in Australian cinema, just starting to gain recognition. Cruise, on the other hand, was already a global icon, married to Nicole Kidman and one of the highest paid actors in the world. Nicole Kidman was the one who made the introduction. She had been following Crowe's work in Australian films and admired his talent. At the barbecue, she personally brought Cruise over to meet him. Crowe later said it felt like more than just a casual introduction. Kidman had already been praising his work to Cruise, even showing him some of his films beforehand. It was clear she thought the two would get along, and she was right. What started as a friendly chat turned into a deep conversation that lasted for hours. Surprisingly, Cruise, despite his fame, had taken the time to watch Crowe's movies like Proof and Spotswood. He asked Crowe thoughtful questions about his acting process and life in Australian cinema. For Crowe, this was a surreal moment. When Russell Crowe spoke about his new film, The Water Diviner, he shared a story about a brief conversation he once had with Tom Cruise. Crowe explained how the topic of Scientology came up naturally between them. It all started when Crowe was at a video store and noticed a $2.50 special on a video about Scientology. Out of curiosity and as a gesture of friendship toward Kidman, he decided to watch it. Later, during a conversation with Cruise, Crowe brought it up. He admitted he wasn't sure how Cruise would react, but was pleasantly surprised by how laid back and respectful Cruise was about the whole thing. They talked for a while, but what really stood out to Crowe was how Cruise ended the discussion. Instead of trying to persuade him or push any beliefs, Cruise simply said, "If it's important to you, man, you'll do something about it." That one line left a lasting impression on Crowe, who walked away thinking Cruise was a genuinely cool and grounded guy. In 2001, Hollywood was shaken when Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman ended their 10-year marriage. When the divorce happened, Russell had to make a tough choice. He had been friends with both of them for nearly a decade, but he decided to stand by Nicole. Tom's team even tried to convince Russell to keep his distance from her, but Russell refused and told them to back off. For Russell, this wasn't just about taking sides. He saw Nicole as family and felt protective of her. This decision, however, created a rift between him and Tom that never really healed. Things became even more awkward when Russell made a joke about being part of Nicole's settlement package after the divorce. The joke was meant to be funny, suggesting he had naturally joined Team Nicole, but it didn't land well. Though Russell later said the comment came from a place of affection for both Tom and Nicole, it only made things worse. Years later, that tension showed up again when Tom and Russell worked together on The Mummy in 2017. It was their first time acting together, but things weren't friendly. Their on-screen partnership featured a standout scene, a brutal fight between their characters. Filming this scene took 4 full days. Both actors, though in their 50s, insisted on doing all their own stunts. The fight had them smashing each other into walls, glass, and tables, completely destroying the set. The production crew worried they might get hurt, but neither Cruise nor Crowe wanted to back down. Off camera, the tension was impossible to ignore. Crowe reportedly couldn't stand Cruise during filming, with old grudges adding to the friction. The set became divided. Some supported Cruise, who had a strong vision for the movie, while others sided with Crowe, who preferred a more traditional, character-driven approach. Their different ways of working clashed constantly. Crowe focused on depth and storytelling, while Cruise pushed for fast-paced action. Crew members even began documenting their disagreements, because the arguments became so frequent. A big part of the problem was Cruise's control over the entire production. His contract gave him the power to approve scripts, oversee editing, and make major changes. He even brought in his own writers to rewrite the movie, making it center more on his character. The project also brought up old emotions. Crowe had been close to Kidman for years, and working with Cruise meant revisiting some of that shared history. Crowe acknowledged the complexity in interviews, saying, "Any ending to a relationship like that is heavy. Man, it must have been hard for both of them." Their relationship is one of Hollywood's most unique. It started with admiration, went through rocky times after Cruise's divorce, and eventually led to a professional collaboration. But this wasn't the only strange case in Tom Cruise's career. In 2005, a very public argument between Tom Cruise and Brooke Shields stirred up a lot of debate about postpartum depression. It all started when Shields published her memoir, Down Came the Rain. In it, she talked about how hard life was after her daughter, Rowan, was born. Shields suffered from postpartum depression and explained how the antidepressant Paxil helped her feel better. Tom Cruise didn't agree with her choice. During a famous interview on Today's Show with Matt Lauer, Cruise said it was irresponsible for Shields to take antidepressants. He claimed they didn't work and suggested vitamins and exercise instead. He even took a jab at her career, asking, "Where has her career gone?" This upset many people, especially women who had experienced similar struggles. Shields didn't let Cruise's comments go unanswered. She wrote a bold piece in the New York Times telling Cruise to stick to saving the world from aliens and leave decisions about postpartum depression to the women dealing with it. She also pointed out something obvious. "I'm going to guess Mr. Cruise has never suffered from postpartum depression." Her response was sharp, but it also showed just how serious this issue was for so many people. A year later, something unexpected happened. Cruise went to Shields' house to apologize in person. He said he was sorry for the hurtful things he had said, though his views on antidepressants didn't change. Shields accepted his apology, and soon after, she was even invited to Cruise's wedding to Katie Holmes in Italy. Meanwhile, Thandie Wee Newton had a tough time working with Tom Cruise on Mission Impossible 2. In a 2020 interview, she talked about a night shoot in Spain back in 2000 that turned into a nightmare. It was supposed to be a simple balcony scene, but things quickly spiraled out of control. The scene was already hard to film. Newton and Cruise's characters were supposed to argue, but the director, John Woo, didn't speak English on set. This left the actors with little help, and the tension kept building. Cruise wasn't happy with how Newton was acting in the scene. Instead of working through it calmly, he suggested they switch roles. Newton would play his character, and he'd play hers. He thought it might help, but for Newton, it made everything worse. She felt terrified and insecure, like she was doing everything wrong. Newton remembered noticing something strange about Cruise that night. At the start of the shoot, there was a small red mark on his nose. By the end of the night, it had turned into a big whitehead. To her, it felt like a symbol of her own stress growing bigger and bigger as the night went on. After it was over, Newton felt awful. She talked to another director, Jonathan Demme, and blamed herself for what happened. Later, Cruise called her, and she thought he might apologize. Instead, he told her they'd be redoing the scene. During the reshoot, she gave him what he wanted, an alpha bitch performance. But she didn't think this was the best way to get great acting from someone. Fast forward, in July 2022, Mickey Rourke caused a stir when he appeared on Piers Morgan Uncensored. During the interview, he criticized Tom Cruise in a way that shocked Hollywood. At the time, Cruise was celebrating a huge moment in his career. Top Gun. Maverick had just made over $1 billion at the box office, but Rourke dismissed Cruise's success, saying it didn't matter, and even called him irrelevant. He argued that Cruise's acting career, spanning 35 years, lacked depth and artistic value. For Rourke, being a great actor isn't about making hit movies. It's about taking risks and transforming yourself for every role. Moreover, Tom Cruise and Matt Lauer clashed in a very intense Today Show interview on June 24, 2005. It started as a regular talk about Cruise's movie, War of the Worlds, but things quickly got heated. Cruise was upset because Brooke Shields had talked about using antidepressants after having her baby. As a Scientologist, Cruise believed psychiatry was a pseudoscience and said antidepressants weren't real solutions. He argued there was no such thing as a chemical imbalance. Lauer tried to question him, but Cruise got more aggressive, saying Lauer didn't have all the facts and calling Shields' views harmful. The argument got so tense that it became one of the most talked about interviews on TV. Brooke Shields later defended herself in a New York Times article, standing by her decisions and challenging Cruise's beliefs. The moment became a defining example of Crew's commitment to Scientology clashing with mainstream opinions. Leah Remini, once a dedicated Scientologist herself, has since revealed troubling stories about Crewe. After Crew's COVID-19 rant on the Mission Impossible 7 set went viral in 2020, Remini claimed it was all for show. She said Scientologists don't even believe in the pandemic, seeing it as something meant to provoke reactions. She also shared stories about Crew's temper, including an incident where he reportedly got angry because his staff didn't have the right ingredients for cookies. On the Mission Impossible set, Crew's behavior reportedly caused 5 staff members to quit after another meltdown. According to Remini, Crewe has been shaped by Scientology leader David Miscavige, turning him into someone she called an abusive dictator. She also suggested Crew's public rants are planned to make him look heroic, hiding a much darker side of his personality. Tom Cruise's relationship with John Travolta has also been filled with tension. Even though both are major figures in Scientology, they've reportedly competed for years to be the church's top star under leader David Miscavige. Things hit a breaking point in 2008 when Crewe was given Scientology's biggest award, the Freedom Medal of Valor. Travolta, who had always been told he was the most loyal member, was furious. He even skipped Crew's wedding to Katie Holmes, which was a huge deal in their circle. Insiders have said that Crewe gets special treatment, like gifts and direct access to Miscavige, while Travolta doesn't get the same privileges. Travolta was so upset that he reportedly dictated a letter demanding answers about the award. Scientology representatives have denied these claims, but the rivalry between the two actors is hard to ignore, and there are shocking stories about Tom Cruise and his personal life. In February 2001, Tom Cruise shocked Nicole Kidman by filing for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences. She didn't see it coming, and it left her heartbroken. At the same time, her acting career was reaching new heights. Just 2 years later, she won an Oscar for her role in The Hours, but instead of feeling joy, she was filled with sadness. Her personal life was in pieces, and it made the moment feel hollow. The night she won her Oscar showed just how deeply she was hurting. She went to the Vanity Fair party, holding the award everyone dreams of winning, but she couldn't celebrate. She left early, went back to her hotel, and sat on the floor eating takeout with her family. In that quiet moment, she realized what she really wanted. I need to find love, she thought. I need love in my life. The divorce wasn't just about two people breaking up. It came with other challenges. Scientology, the religion Crewe followed, played a big role. After the split, the church reportedly labeled Kidman as a suppressive person. This made it harder for her to stay close to the 2 kids she and Crewe had adopted. Things became even more tense in 2005 during a TV interview. When a reporter asked Crewe if Kidman was the love of his life, he got angry. "You're stepping over the line now," he warned. "Put your manners back in." Despite all this pain, both Crewe and Kidman eventually moved on. Kidman found love with country singer Keith Urban. When he surprised her with gardenias on her birthday after just 6 months of dating, she knew he was the one. They got married in 2006 in Australia. Crewe, meanwhile, married Katie Holmes, but even that didn't go well. In 2012, Tom Cruise and Katie Holmes ended their marriage in record time. Their divorce was finalized in just 2 weeks, shocking everyone in Hollywood. Usually, high-profile divorces with lots of money and property take months, sometimes years. But this one was different. Katie had planned everything carefully. She even used disposable phones to secretly talk to lawyers and make her escape from the marriage as smooth as possible. It was clear she knew exactly what she was doing. When it came to money, Katie made some interesting choices. She didn't ask for spousal support, which many people expected. Instead, she focused on their daughter, Suri. Tom agreed to pay $400,000 a year in child support until Suri turns 18. He also covered all her health care and school expenses. On top of that, a trust fund was set up for Suri. She'll get access to some of it when she's 18, but most of it is locked away until she's in her 30s. Katie also kept their huge Beverly Hills mansion worth $35 million and her expensive jewelry collection. She walked away with plenty, even without spousal support. The biggest surprise, though, was the custody agreement. Katie got full physical custody of Suri. This is rare in celebrity divorces, where joint custody is usually the norm. She wanted control over Suri's daily life, including decisions about her education and religion, and she got it. Tom only has visitation rights. Katie filed for divorce in New York because the courts there are more likely to give one parent full custody. It was a smart move, and it worked in her favor. In late 2004, Nazanin Bonyadi's life took a strange and unsettling turn. The Church of Scientology picked her for a secret mission, which they called a special project. She had no idea what it was about at first. They made her change her looks. She had to take off her braces, fix her hair, and even break up with her longtime boyfriend. Soon, she learned the truth. She had been chosen to be Tom Cruise's girlfriend. At first, it might have seemed like a dream, but it quickly became a nightmare. Bonyadi was flown to New York and placed under constant watch. She was never left alone with Cruise and was always surrounded by Scientology handlers. Even her appearance wasn't good enough for Cruise. He demanded that she file down her teeth to look better. Every day, she was forced to spend hours cleansing her mind of any bad thoughts about him. The control over her life was overwhelming. She wasn't allowed to make mistakes. Once, she used the words, "very well done," when speaking to Cruise, and it was taken as an insult, as if she thought he was beneath her. For this, she was punished with intense and exhausting auditing sessions. Another time, she made a small social mistake in front of Scientology leader David Miscavige, which made things even worse. By January 2005, the relationship ended suddenly. Bonyadi, heartbroken and confused, opened up to a friend about what she had gone through. Instead of support, she faced harsh punishments. She was forced to scrub toilets with a toothbrush, clean tiles with acid, and dig ditches late at night. She was yelled at, called a horrible person, and made to sell Scientology books on the street. It was humiliating and cruel. This experience was a turning point for Bonyadi. She eventually left Scientology, distancing herself from the church and its practices. Years later, she shared her story with the FBI, revealing the full extent of how the church controlled her life and her relationship with Tom Cruise.